Well, what's going on, family? It is your main man, Joe Dupree, along with my brother, Edward J. Brown. It is the 17th day of August. It is another Wellness Wednesday. And once again, your mental health matters because a healthy
Absolutely.
you
Is a better you. That's
Brother
right.
Brown, what's happening?
Man, what's going on?
Man, I can't see it, can't call it, but I'm happy to be here.
I was about to say we here. And look, without the conversation we was just having about this weather that's coming, man. See, that's why I got to talk to my brother, because you be enlightening me. I'm in the dark. Realizing I need to create an arc. Look like I got to make an arc between now and next week. It's supposed to rain every day.
Hey, man, this rain is supposed to be coming. So, family, if you're deciding to be out and about, first of all, have your rain gear together. Second of all, be careful because, people around here normally can't drive right when the weather's right. Don't let the weather get crazy. That's all I got to say.
Let them drive in the rain, huh?
Yeah, that's it. That part.
Well, my brother, I want to kind of pick up. We always talk about we have these type of shows that we feel we need to have a part 2.
Correct.
And we both talk about we had one of those days. So I said, let's kind of make it a little lighthearted. But
okay.
I don't really know how lighthearted it's going to be because, we never know how the conversation is going to turn.
Right. Because we're here trying to tell folks it's okay not to be okay.
That's
and
right.
Seek someone to speak to, because look, you can Google the numbers. The numbers are what they are. Yeah. When it comes down to suicide rates and the rates of folks who don't go out to get treatment for mental health situations and illness, especially with with people of color and communities of color, like Black and brown communities, we don't talk about this thing enough.
No, mental health is one of those taboo subjects. It's one of those taboo subjects. Yeah, religion.
Correct. So
mental health, sex,
and money.
Ooh,
we don't talk about that a lot.
We don't talk about money. No.
And that's probably why we're at the bottom. When you start looking at the statistics, we're at the bottom in mostly all those categories,
especially the socioeconomic ones. We are definitely at the bottom. Well, we spoke last week about communication, and it was the topic that we've explored on a number of different occasions. So I literally actually ran into someone that watched the podcast, and they asked me something that I thought was so profound, which made me say, that's part 2 of our conversation about communication.
Let's get it.
And the person looked at me and said, just because somebody is able to communicate does not mean they can comprehend. I was like, oh, wait. I said, there is a difference between comprehension and understanding.
Correct.
How many times have you had a conversation with somebody and they have that blank look in their face and you say, do you understand? And they look right at you and say, and have no clue what you were talking about.
Correct.
So I think today we're going to talk about the importance of comprehension, how certain people comprehend. And then the second half of the hour, we're going to talk about what's the difference between comprehension and truly understanding. Because there's 2 separate things. You could tell me everything that you know about being law enforcement and the codes and you tell me, do you understand? And I could easily and very confidently look at you and say, I absolutely understand. But my comprehension of the topic,
correct,
something is to be desired. So, let's look at when we start talking about comprehension, being able to truly, we understand each other for a number of reasons. Number one, we both speak the same language.
Correct.
I speak English, you speak English. Now, what's funny is, being down there from South Louisiana, y'all have some dialogue that and some
Wait,
dialect that make me scratch my head. I remember.
wait a minute. Don't put me into y'all now, because when I first got here, but hold it, as they say around your neck of the woods, believe you me, when I first got here, I was like, wait a minute.
So exactly. So now I remember the first time somebody said, "You understand, Shaq?" I started looking around. He was like, "What you looking at?" I said, "I'm looking. Who is Shaq?"
Right,
You know,
Shaq,
I'm
baby.
thinking that's somebody in the room named Shaq. Now it's such a part of my vocabulary that I find myself saying it in certain situations.
Correct.
So, you know, and I know, not blowing his horn, but my brother speaks another language. My brother Dupree, you spent time in Europe, didn't you?
Yeah, I did,
Yeah.
and I speak German and
Okay.
understand some other languages,
There you go.
comprehend them, can carry German. I actually read, speak, and write.
There you
But
go.
there's a few other languages I understand enough that I can at least comprehend what's being said in a situation.
So now we're able to speak and we're able to comprehend one another from a level of we speak the same language.
Correct.
Now, just a second ago, I talked about how comprehension can be impacted by environmental factors, where you're
Correct.
from.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first got to Southern. When I first got to Southern, we're walking around and the guy he was, his name was Keith. He was from Franklin, Louisiana, and he was I think a junior, played linebacker. And he said, "Come on, let me walk y'all around and show y'all around." And I immediately looked across the field and I see 2 or 3 guys and they walking and they got these big starter jackets on. Now this is August. And I said, "Man, what those?" He said, "Well, they're from Detroit. They wear those starter jackets all year long." I said, "They're gonna pass out." And as we walked past them, I heard them speaking different. Everything was like, "Yeah, look at here, son. You heard what I'm saying, son? Hey, son, look." And I'm saying, wow. Because, you know, I'm fresh out of New Orleans.
Right.
So as we walked along, I see some guys and they got cowboy boots on and straight leg jeans. And he said, "Oh, they from Houston. They wear boots all the time." And then about 10 seconds after that, I hear somebody say, "Hey, boo." I say, "Uh-oh, that's my people from New Orleans." Now, I didn't need to hear anything else. I knew and I comprehend what they were saying. And people, as I started to spend more and more time at Southern, I realized that people from New Orleans had a unique dialect. And my friend Dave Holloway from Buffalo, New York said, "Y'all answer yourself." Now, keep in mind, I had no idea what he was talking about.
I understand.
And he said, "Y'all," and I said, "Y'all." He said, "Y'all." He said, "Y'all." He said, "Then you'll say me a lot." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm tired, me." And he would say, "You tired, you?" "I ain't playing no." He said, "You ain't playing no?" And then I started to pay attention. And I'm
Right.
like, wow, we do speak different, but we're talking about comprehension. People from New Orleans, we understood each other.
Correct.
He had a problem because he said, "Hey, listen to this. Ed, what you gonna do later on?" I said, "I'm gonna pass by your house." "Pass by my, you're not gonna stop?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" You say you're gonna pass, you know. I'm like, "I'm gonna pass by you. You're not gonna stop." "Or we're gonna make groceries."
Oh my goodness, that was the one right there for me.
We're gonna make groceries. Yeah, we're gonna make groceries. So we talked about being able to understand one another because we both speak English. But then there's those environmental factors like where you're from. Now, I know for a fact there's people in Lafayette who speak French
Correct. Creole.
fluently.
Not hold it. Let's call it what it really is. And I have to say that they speak a broken Creole French, because I'm very because I am a world traveler. I have a child that is European,
Okay.
And it's not the French they speak in France. They
Mm-hmm.
speak
I
a
got
very broken Creole
you.
French. To be
Mm-hmm.
exact, I even have some Haitian friends who say,
Yes.
"Hold up, man, that's not
Yes.
the French we speak, but
Okay.
they speak a version of Creole French."
Now, that's like going to Jamaica and they speak patois. I
Right,
didn't
right,
understand what patois was, but it's a combination of English, French, Spanish.
right,
It's like the gumbo of languages.
right.
So we understand as we talk about comprehension, those variables that can be very, very, very major players in our understanding or lack of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's one that's going to really light the spark and light the fuse. What about the variable of gender?
Wow.
Do we comprehend differently based on gender?
Mm,
Now that's a question that'll spark all kinds of conversation. There's books on it. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
correct.
I teach in one of my classes. Absolutely, we comprehend and we comprehend on different levels as men and women. Brother Dupree, you can have two women sitting at a table at an event and have an entire conversation with just their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
A guy will walk past or a lady will walk past and before you know it, they have an entire conversation and understand one another.
Correct, correct.
Okay. So as we talk about the importance of understanding versus, as the importance of comprehension, we'll understand the difference later on. We start talking about truly understanding. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we learn how to communicate based on a lot of these environmental factors. For example,
Right.
if you and I grew up in Hong Kong, or if we grew up in China, we would speak, whatever the languages where we grew up in that continent. If we, grew up in
Yeah, it
we
would it
speak
would be
Mandarin.
Mandarin or
Yeah,
Chinese or
yeah,
Japanese.
we speak,
Hold it. And
and you'll ask how.
right, hold it. And it's funny that you say that because you talked about comprehension. And
Mhm.
watch this. One of the things I found out when I was stationed in the Orient, when I was stationed in Japan, you know, traditionally our tradition is if you like somebody, what do you give them? Red roses, right?
Correct.
In Japan, if you give a person red roses, that means you're wishing death on their family. Red roses means bloodshed in Japan.
Wow. See?
And that
Now,
and see, once again, if you
so
don't
here we
know,
are. Not comprehending,
right,
you can start an entire family feud.
right, right,
You know,
right,
so now we have to look at truly how do we comprehend as we communicate.
right.
So let's look at the one about gender. Let's look at the variable of gender. We as men traditionally and in regards to human behavior, they're saying as men we are ego driven. Women are emotionally driven. Emotional conversations make men uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
because it involves us getting in touch with emotions. And unfortunately, and people don't like to hear this, we teach men to suppress emotions. If you don't believe that, you let a little boy start crying. Stop that crying.
Right, right.
The child could be bleeding from his ears. Stop that crying. Boys don't cry. You cry like a little girl.
Right.
So now here we are, grown men, and we've learned to suppress feelings. We've learned to suppress emotions. Therefore, we don't communicate that the way women do. We want to know how a woman feels. We want to know what a woman thinks. So now try to merge those two genders to form one. A woman will talk and the man will be looking at her and understand and comprehend very little what she's talking about because she's talking from an emotional standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you crying about that? Because that hurt my feelings. Why does something so minuscule, so trivial hurt your feelings? It makes no sense. Because we comprehend differently.
Right.
Okay. And now, the minute a man starts to get in touch with those feelings and we start to understand and comprehend from that perspective, oh my God, he's soft.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, he's mushy. Well, what do you want? Do you want me to comprehend from your perspective or not? Women, a woman that doesn't show emotional, she's just damaged goods.
Right.
Well, when she shows emotion, you say she's extra. When she doesn't show emotion, she's damaged goods. So these type of podcasts that we're doing will help us understand how to comprehend one another on what we're looking at from just a humanistic standpoint, which is, we're all human beings. Number two, social variables
Right.
that input where you're from, because people talk different. Baby, see, when they hear that, they automatically know, oh, you from New Orleans. I've seen people on BET just yesterday trying to imitate people from how y'all say baby, but no, it's not baby. This dude spent 30 seconds trying to say baby. He wanted to be able to say baby, look, and I'm sitting there like, wow. There's the environmental. So now, from the gender perspective, we understand, we comprehend differently because we have different driving factors.
Correct.
Not ego for women and not emotional for men.
Correct.
So if you understand that, if you're able to comprehend that, then it will help you relate to one another better. Now, we're talking about this communication phase. So here we are now talking about the art of comprehension. Now, here's what also today and coming up, I don't know if it started already, we have little people, little bitty people getting ready to embark on school.
Mm-hmm.
Children learn to comprehend 3 different ways.
Come on.
All right, here we go. Number 1, children comprehend on things that I can do.
Right.
Then they got the other one, things I cannot do.
Right.
And then the third one is things I haven't quite figured out yet.
Right.
Now, people say, what do you mean by that? Here we go. The little boy comes in the house, dad's at the refrigerator, and he has the jug of milk. And he takes the taco, dad chugs, he hands it to the son, and the son looks. Here. Son takes the jug. He immediately puts that into the category of things I can do. So later on, the next day, son comes in from playing outside, grabs the jug. Mom's standing in the kitchen. He unscrews the jar and gets a whack. Ow! Wait, get a glass. And now he's like, well, okay, let me put this in the things I don't quite understand yet.
Right.
So now imagine that inside of a little person's head, and now we send them to school.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things that I find myself having a lot of conversations about lately. Difference in parenting styles. You are a less rigid parent and you allow your child to have a lot more freedom. They can talk when they and they can interrupt your conversations. They can, now all of a sudden you send them to school where it's a lot more structured.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wonder why they struggle.
Hmm.
Their comprehension is different. Why can't I do this here, but I can do it there?
Right.
I don't quite understand. My mama lets me say what I want to say when I want to say it.
So let me ask you this, Brother
Sure.
Brown, and I'm just curious about this.
Mm-hmm.
How do we help our people understand that? Because the art of communication
Mm-hmm.
sometimes is problematic. Then the art of comprehension is problematic.
Uh-huh.
And then it puts many a time people in communities of color in a position where we wind up in bad situations because A, we didn't understand, or B, it wasn't said the way we're normally used to it being said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the art of comprehension is so directly linked to communication that it's unreal. We as people, we don't communicate. Therefore, our level of comprehension has gone from this to this to this.
Mm.
Without the art of for example, now let's take what you just said. You have a child at the age of 5 years old that does not communicate much with their parents, but can work a tablet better than any adult. They can work a phone, and they know right where to go on the World Wide Web to find what they're looking for.
Mm.
And so now, when I talk to you, my anxiety as a kid goes up because I don't quite understand this communication thing.
Huh.
But it's easier when I can sit back in on the back seat of the car, or I can sit in my room and I can play on the phone all day long. I never have to communicate with you.
Right.
I was talking to my grandsons a couple of weeks ago, and all of a sudden they disappear, and they stay gone for a little while, and then the younger one, he comes back, and we're talking, and he said, "I don't have any more minutes on my tablet."
Hmm.
So I'm like, "Oh, so you using me because you're bored?" So he laughed. He said, "No, but what he meant was my son sets a certain amount of time that he has access to the tablet in a day. And when that time is used up, the tablet cuts off, or the access to the internet cuts off. So now he has to use his mind to come up with other things to stimulate himself." And I was like, that's interesting. What about these kids where we always say the television raised them? Because they have poor communication skills. We have to get back to the art of communication in order for the art of comprehension to go back up the way it used to.
Come on.
You understand? So that we can get our children that can engage, because one of the toughest things for me as a therapist is to sit in a room with a child that has poor communication skills, because now I have to start from the very basics to try to understand what's going on with them so that we can develop a course of action to treat them.
Hmm.
If you can you imagine sitting with a child and they cannot they can't express to you what's wrong?
Woo.
The frustration of a young therapist, he won't tell me what's wrong. Well, he would if he knew how. But he never had to talk. He never had to communicate. He never felt as though someone cared about what he was feeling. So he doesn't have those skills to be able to communicate. You and I have had a number of shows where we talk about young people and their inability to communicate, so they use another option as a way out. Suicide becomes an option because nobody understands how I feel. No, that's not true. You were unable to communicate in a way that was, okay for you. Because what I always listen, when I'm sitting here with a young adult, and most people will say this, Brother Dupree, I don't know where to start.
Right.
I said, well, let's look at it this way. If you have ever put together a puzzle, the first thing you have to do with the puzzle is take all the pieces out.
Correct.
Dump it on the table. So I always say, just start talking. We'll put it together later.
Right.
So I can start at the end if you want. But we got to get it all out and put it on the table before we can start putting it all together.
That's very true. Very true.
Let's get it out. Then we'll put it together later. Now, that requires you to be able to communicate. I got comprehension skills. We need to get to the point where people start to communicate so we can improve comprehension. Now, there's different types of communication and the way people comprehend it.
Correct.
Aggressiveness. Aggressiveness will get you absolutely shut down. I don't want to deal with the aggression. So if your way of communication is with aggression, I don't comprehend that. I don't understand the need for it.
Come on.
Yes, I definitely don't understand the need for it. I don't understand how you expect it to be effective.
Right.
It's not necessary.
So some folk, and you find that very common with folk because of their upbringing. Some folk will immediately, their voice will go up 1, 2, 3, 4 octaves when it is confrontational with them speaking to you. They'll be, well, what do you mean?
Right.
And then you say, hey, whoa. I'm just trying to talk to you. I don't need your voice. And then they come with my favorite line. Well, that's just the way I talk.
Yeah, that's just the way I talk. Exactly. What I always like is we look at these Karen videos. And I saw one about a year ago where the young guy is walking and a woman walks up to him. She's like, what are you doing in this neighborhood? And he said, what do you mean? You don't have to yell. You don't have to get all worked. And the brother said, I'm not yelling. Okay, see, I feel threatened. Why are you getting so aggressive? And the dude is looking, and he started laughing because he thought she was joking.
Right.
Because his voice, he said, what do you mean? What am I doing in this neighborhood? You don't have to get aggressive. And he said, what? I'm not getting aggressive. And you don't have to look. I feel threatened. He said, you walked up to me and asked me what I'm doing, but you feel threatened?
Correct.
And then all of a sudden her husband walks up. Hey, look at here, mister. Don't talk to my wife like that. And the dude is like, what is going on?
Right.
He was blown away. He was like, I'm not yelling. I'm not screaming, but y'all feel threatened.
Right.
So again, the comprehension and the communication, there was a disconnect.
Right.
There was an extreme disconnect. So when you start looking at how a person communicates, it is definitely a major player in how a person comprehends.
Correct.
I do an exercise where I walk in and I just start yelling and screaming. And what the class doesn't know is I'm actually yelling and screaming the directions on where I hid a $20 bill outside the door. Normally, not one person can tell me what I say. And I'm like, just go outside, look up. When you look, and they're like, whoa. And after 30 seconds, I'm like, okay, now what did I just say? And most of them will look at me like, I have no idea what you just said.
Right.
All they heard was how I said it.
Correct. Hold it. And many a times it's what you hear people say. People say it's not what you said.
It's
not what you said. It's how you said it. And many a times it is how we inflect, how we approach, how we put it on the table. Come on, family, especially right now. Think about this. We're on the 17th day of August in the year 2022. Football season is getting ready to start, so there's going to be a lot of trash talking. It's going to kick off in the next 2 weeks if it haven't already started right now during some of the NFL preseason.
It has.
But nevertheless, it is not going to be so much sometimes what you say. It's going to be how you say it. And look at this. Think about how many kids have went back to school now. And think about this. Kids come from all different social economical groups along with different ethnic backgrounds. And now they're all back into this melting pot called school. Everybody can't afford the big time shoes, even though they may have uniforms. See, kids figure new ways to separate kids. You know, when we were kids, when we were kids, right? When we were kids, you know, we knew who wore the you hold it. Some of us had the foxes on our shirt because we couldn't afford the alligators. So
JC
Penney, right? So we wouldn't got the fox and JC Penney. You know, while other people may went to the Belks or to the Dillards or to the higher class stores, and they were able to get right. They were able to get the alligators, which a lot of people don't know. That's a black man too, but that's for another show on another day.
That's
right. Instead of, you know, now that everybody wears the same khaki pants and same color shirt, the kids now kind of separate each other by the shoes.
Yes. And here's the interesting thing about that. When we start looking at it, and I'm going to just take a second, but I ask people all the time, do you know why Jordans cost what they cost? Because they were good basketball shoes.
Right.
They were really good. They gave good support.
Right.
You know, they gave good traction.
Right.
They were good. So we had people that couldn't play a lick of basketball, spending $200 now $300 on a pair of shoes.
Right.
You know, I see babies that can't walk, got $100 pair of Jordans on. And what that does is, now here's the thing. You can't do 2-column arithmetic, but you can laugh at somebody because they got on some off-brand tennis shoes. But you can't read on the appropriate level, but you know how to make fun of somebody because they got on the wrong brand of pants. We have to start looking at how we communicate, what we communicate, why we communicate.
Come on.
You know, I always look at it like this. I had a friend of mine, and he had a girlfriend, and his girlfriend had a couple of kids, and her kids were very studious. Now, somebody would say that I'm saying studious as a nice way of saying they were nerdy. Okay? Well, my boy, his son was kind of a jock. You know, young up-and-coming 10-year-old that was a good ball player.
Okay.
And one day we were all together, me, my boy, his son, and his girls, 2 boys. And he kept saying, yeah, they soft. They soft. And I kept saying, what makes them soft? And he kind of looked at me like, I don't understand how you don't comprehend what I mean. And he just kept saying, you know, they soft. I said, what makes them soft? Because they don't play football like you. They don't play basketball like you. Well, I said, okay, so if that makes them soft, does it make you stupid because you don't make the grades they make? And he kind of looked at me. I said, you got to communicate better than that. Don't talk about them because they're different from you. Even these NBA players got non-athletic people managing their money.
Right.
And when I told him that, he looked. I said, yeah, see, you may make it to the NFL, but it'll be a guy like this that's managing your money. So let's communicate better and don't call them names because they're not like you or they're different from you. As we talked about earlier in the podcast, you know, environmentally, they're from a different place than you.
Correct.
You know, so now we communicate our insecurities, by pointing out other people's shortcomings to hide our own.
Right.
So you might be making fun of that person because they got on some off-brand shoes to keep people from knowing that you repeating the same grade again.
Correct. I mean, we all hold it. I tell people all the time, we all have secrets.
Yes.
Until we get caught. We
Yes.
all got secrets. Listen, we all have shortcomings. We all nobody's perfect. Where you may have strength one place, you have a weakness somewhere else. And listen, exposure can come from anyone. You know, I'm not the type person, I can't sit with a whole bunch of guys from Harvard University. I will be exposed quite quickly as a brother who did not go to Harvard, nowhere close to Harvard type caliber type individual. Now, that doesn't mean I'm stupid, I'm dumb. I'm just not a Harvard guy, you know. And listen, sometimes you got to be very careful. And I tell people that all the time. And here's why. Because like I tell folks, the same folk you laughing at, folk will figure out a way to laugh at you.
Absolutely. My thing is, we've been talking now, we're over the halfway point. We've been talking about comprehension. It's time, and we have to, because we can't have this podcast without talking about, now that we're talking about comprehension, what's the difference between comprehension and understanding?
All right, come on.
All right. So understanding means that we can relate on a common ground. Understanding, for example, it says that men and women, a man can never understand what it's like to give childbirth, to go through childbirth. We cannot come to an understanding on that plateau. We can never do it. It doesn't work. A woman can never understand certain things about being a man. So the difference between comprehension and understanding is, understanding brings us to a common area that we both have the same knowledge and or emotional connection and or understanding. I talked about the ladies that I worked with in the Survive group many years ago. All of those women understood the issues surrounding the loss of a child. And they would always say, if you have not lost a child, you cannot understand. And I remember the first time they said that, when I took over the group, I kind of didn't know how to accept that until I worked with these women 3 or 4 months, and I understood. Every night I left that group, I was going home to my kids. They were not. So the difference between comprehension and understanding is being able to have that common connection regarding a particular issue. This is why when you look at substance abuse and AA sponsors, 99% of sponsors in AA are former addicts. Because they said addict is the only person that can understand another addict. And they said, well, what about the family of an addict? Same thing. They're pretty much, what was it in Pulp Fiction when Samuel Jackson said, well, you know, I don't get a chance to eat a hamburger like this because my girlfriend's a vegetarian, which pretty much makes me a vegetarian. So, you know, when you look at a family of an addict, they've gone through, you know, the issues that are directly affected by a person's addiction.
Correct.
So there is that common factor of how do we understand. So when someone looks at you and they say, you can't understand what I'm going through, don't take it personal.
Right.
What you should do, and what is a common practice, is acknowledge that. No, I cannot understand. So tell me about it.
Right.
Tell me. I remember I had a lady, I was working with a lady through her trauma of being raped. And she said, you can't understand what it's like to be violated in that way. And when I looked at her and said, I cannot, but try to help me comprehend what you're saying. And I'll never forget when she left the session that day, she said, I had made up my mind. If I had told you, you can't comprehend, you can't understand what it's like being violated in that way. If you said, yes, I can, I was going to get up and walk out of here.
Right.
I said, no, I would never say, yes, I can. Your feelings, your experiences are personal. They're yours.
Right.
So please, I put this out there to folks who thought about suicide, who contemplated suicide, who's even planned suicide. We may not understand what you're going through, but if you just give us an opportunity to comprehend, I think you'll be surprised how you're not going through this alone.
Correct.
Or any other issues that people feel nobody can understand. This is the purpose of this podcast. I felt the need to come back after last week and talk about the difference between comprehension and understanding in regards to communication. And this was very good information that should help people improve their communication.
Correct.
You know, Brother Dupree is by far one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met in person in regards to, you know, radio, television, media, period. And back in the day, I may be dating myself. There was a commercial called E.F. Hutton.
Yeah.
And when somebody mentioned E.F. Hutton, everybody shut up.
Right. Right. Because when he talks, you listen.
Yeah, when E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody listens.
That's
so
correct.
when Brother Dupree and I get together and he starts to talk about something in radio, he wants us to get together and possibly put this on, and the way we're going to do it is through this medium and that medium. I listen. The same way if I say, you know what, I'm a little concerned about this person's state of mind, their mental health.
When it comes to counseling,
he's like, I'm listening.
Right, hold it. I listen so much that when folk come to me, and I'm in a job that people come to me and they have issues that they say, I've been through depression or I'm dealing with anxiety, I refer them directly to my brother, Edward J. Brown, because I know with positive, and this is a good place for me to do this, and I'm going to put this up here so y'all will know if you right now are looking at this podcast and say, you know what, y'all give a lot of great information. I see a lot of the podcasts. I know every Wednesday, rain, sleet, snow, or hail, unless something really crazy happens, you're on here. Mm-hmm. But I need to find out, do you have a tailor-made plan for me? Yes. Something that I need. So I need to talk to a counselor, because it's okay not to be okay. What's not okay is not to be okay and not seek help to get well.
Correct.
You know, so go to Positive Choices Counseling. You see the web there. The web address is there, positivechoicescounseling.org. It will give you all the great information. You can do telehealth. You can listen. You can have insurance, no insurance, sliding scale.
Make the call.
Make the call. Make the call. My brother will work out a way to help you, because we want you well. Because a healthy you is a better you. Back to my brother.
So now let's kind of get into something else that just made me say I wanted to talk about comprehension and understanding. What happens, and Brother Dupree, I'm gonna see him come up out of his seat in a minute. What happens when we comprehend / try to understand people that's giving us misinformation? I recently had an opportunity to have a meeting with the lady, and she was the director of a program. And she told me I did not want to work with you because I didn't like something that happened many years ago. And when she told me what happened many years ago, it made me scratch my head for a number of factors. Remember what I said? Understanding is having that common relationship regarding a particular issue. She's talking about something my agency did that we don't do. So I couldn't understand her. I was comprehending what she was saying, but I didn't understand her. So after we decided, let's move forward and we can put whatever you thought behind you, because the interesting part was she gave her entire staff instructions not to do certain things in regards to positive choices, right? Yeah. Come to find out, everything was a misunderstanding. But we had been impacted by misinformation for a number of years that we can't get back. So somewhere out there, someone's watching this podcast and you're trying to understand and connect with someone on a level that does not fit well with your spirit.
Right.
Sometimes you are not going to understand. You're not going, because you cannot find that common. I had a guy, one of my former colleagues, and he told me, I don't understand how you can work with those sex offenders. I said, well, I just don't understand them. Well, I am not here to understand. I comprehend what they did, and I'm to formulate a treatment plan around their illness. You want to understand the behavior of someone that's a sex offender. You drive yourself crazy trying to understand that.
Right.
You are not going to have that common connection on that level.
Correct.
You will never have that common connection unless you're a sex offender. You know, now, on a little lighter note, that's like us Southernites. I used to always say, it ain't but two kind of people in the world. People who went to Southern and people who wanted to go to Southern. That was it. That's all the kind of people in the world. And people went to Southern and people who wanted to go to Southern. Now, the interesting thing about that, I took that with me, right? All of these years.
Right.
And Brother Dupree, I'm not ashamed to tell this story. About, maybe it was about 10 years ago. We went to Jackson.
Okay.
And I met my boy. My boy Dwight says, come over to the house. We're going to go to the game and we're going to sell it. We're going to have a good time. And before we got to the game, there was some Jackson State people at his house.
Some JSU.
And they were talking about Jackson State. Now, this was before the Dion.
Okay.
We talked 10 years ago.
Right.
They was like, Jackson State, Jackson. And I looked and I literally said, these people love their school
just as much as you love yours.
School.
Right.
I don't know why,
as much as you love yours.
Right. And it was like an epiphany for me. And then coming to Alcorn, I was like, it's not, I had to step back and say, wait a minute. It's not a Southern thing. Southern are not the only people who love their school. It's an HBCU thing.
Right. Alumni.
We nurture our people. So it's an understanding.
We now one thing I will say about Southernites, and even though I consider myself a son of Southern, and a lot of folks don't know, even though I wear a great deal of Southern paraphernalia, and you see me a great deal doing things on Southern campus with the Coaches Show. You'll see me with the Coaches Show this year again with Todd Sterling and the Jaguar Nation. I'm a GSU man. One thing I can say about SU folks is they'll tell you, no matter what school you go to, you got some SU in your school.
That's
Be
right.
it JSU, ASU.
ASU. That's right. So
GSU, there's some SU in there.
hey,
So
look, you can't have GSU without SU.
so
You
with that
can't.
being said, though, we have a lot of pride amongst the
Yes,
HBCUs, to be exact.
correct.
And just to take this, and we're going to go a little bit over again tonight. And I don't care because this is my time.
Mhm.
You know, somebody said something that offended some folks. And as a person who has went to other schools, I didn't feel offended. But once again, I am a SWAC graduate. A
Correct.
person stated on social media, there are HBCUs and then there's the SWAC.
Correct.
We are not the same.
Correct.
And oh, did some folk get upset?
Oh, yeah.
Some folk from Morehouse and
Yep.
Spelman and
Yep.
North Carolina A&T and Howard
Bowie State.
and Bowie State. And
Yeah.
listen, I started my career in college at a place called Lane College in
I
Jackson,
remember
Tennessee.
Lane.
Some of my Laneites reached out to me and said,
Listen.
hey, what did that mean? There's HBCUs and then there's the SWAC. Y'all, that's special? Wait a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. And I'm going to say this, and this is long before Deion showed up. But back in the day, and Brother Brown will testify to this, we had people by the name of Mumford, and we had some
Oh.
folks by the name of Robinson, and we had some
Chasm.
chasms out there. Now, listen, y'all, I know y'all on the Deion train right now, but let me tell you something. Deion wouldn't be where he was at today if it wasn't for some of the names I just mentioned.
I'm gonna tell you something. And now I might lose my Southern University card for this, but I gotta say this: Deion ain't no Eddie Robinson.
No, nowhere
right.
close.
All right,
Nowhere close. Hold on. Nowhere
Deion
close.
ain't
And I
Eddie
don't care
Robinson.
who come on here. I don't care if I got a JSU, D.I. Love. Let me tell you something. Before Deion showed up, it wasn't D.I. Love. It was D.I. hope you show up to a game because y'all wasn't showing up. So hold on. Stop acting like all of a sudden y'all been packing out stadiums like y'all did last year. Because before Deion came, it was not D.I. Love. It's D.I. hope you show up. That's what it was. It was I hope you show up.
That's true.
And
That's
the
true.
truth
Look,
about
we used to be able to go to Memorial Stadium and sit wherever we wanted.
Hold on. The truth about the matter, the menace of the SWAC before Deion showed up is where you at. The reservation was what everybody was trying to make it through.
Correct. Exactly.
Because the McNairs were a problem.
Now, here's the thing: the structure, and we just took a whole left turn, but that's all right. Look,
I just had to say that.
the structure of the SWAC is set up to where now the powerhouses are in the West.
Right.
You got Alcorn,
right?
You got Southern,
you got
Grambling.
Come on,
over in the East, you got Jackson State.
Hold it now. This year, get ready because I have a funny feeling. Alabama State and FAMU. Remember them
FAMU's always going to put a good team together.
Remember them and listen, and don't count out Bethune-Cookman because once again, and this is where you have to have a little comprehension and understanding. Hey. We're passionate about HBCU football. Me and this brother here, when we see each other, we definitely gonna have a conversation. We're gonna throw it in the podcast because listen, it's the lightheartedness that sometimes, even on a Wellness Wednesday, you have to be able to talk and disagree. This man graduated from Southern. A lot of folks don't believe it, but I graduated from Grambling. So guess what? As a Gramblingite and a Southernite, we get along quite well until Bayou Classic.
That's right.
Come Bayou Classic, we listen. We may be okay, we may not be okay.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, I tell people I win either way it go because I work for Southern and I graduated from Grambling. So whoever wins, I'm gonna have a smile on my face. But listen, family, here's what we will tell you, especially when it comes down to HBCUs. For those who look like you and I, Brother Brown, to go to a PWI, and somebody said, well, what are these acronyms? If you in the system, you know what it is. If not, we'll talk another time.
Yeah.
Here's the truth about the matter. It's a different type of lifestyle at a HBCU. I graduated undergrad from a PWI. And I'll say this. I love my alma mater. I'm a Terrapin to my heart. But I'll say this. You will never get what you get at a PWI, what you get at a HBCU.
I got my master's from a PWI, the Harvard of the South. So, and my experience there and what I saw was completely different than what I learned and experienced at Southern University. And I remember when a couple of years ago, Southern was playing Tulane, you know, and we used to always say, you know, to comprehend and to understand, you had to go there.
Right, right.
So we spent the night today talking about comprehension and understanding in regards to communication, but we also talked about the environmental factors and how it impacts our comprehension. The way we feel and the way we understand about HBCUs is because of our understanding. And what did I say our understanding was? That commonality that we all share.
Right.
If you meet another person from an HBCU, I know, like I said, we took a turn in this, but it all relates.
Right.
A person who went to Grambling can understand, remember that commonality,
right?
Understand how I feel about Southern.
Right.
You know, and them making fun, or us making fun of one another, is not because we don't understand, because we have that commonality. But when I went to Tulane, I did not get that understanding from my classmates because they went to, you know, PWIs for their bachelor's degree.
Correct. Correct.
So
they came from LSU. They came from Tech.
And who did I make?
Right.
Sonia from Jackson State was, you know, and we all were able to understand and form that connection because we understood our connection to our HBCU.
Correct.
We have to get to the point where we understand comprehension and understanding in regards to communication. Recap real quick, comprehension is that thing that where I hear what you're saying,
right?
And I comprehend it because we speak the same language. I comprehend it because there's certain variables, but understanding is two different things. Right. Understanding comes about as a connection, be it on an emotional level, be it on a spiritual level, on an experience level. You know, I've had people come in here to say, I've never been in a car accident. I said, and I pray you never do.
Right.
But a person that's been in one understands the anxiety that you feel during those 2 or 3 seconds of a car accident.
Correct. Correct.
So when we start taking this turn about HBCUs and our understanding of what the plight of it is.
Correct.
A PWI can't understand how, well, what do you mean? What's the difference between a PWI? Let me ask you this. Did you ever have to worry about your campus being bombed?
Hold on. I got to share this right now. So there's a good friend of mine that lives here in Lafayette. He's a big time musician, a world-renowned, multi-platinum artist. So he winded up going on his social media page because he had, and I still haven't seen it. You know, he used neck. He used neck, talking out the side of your neck, you know, so he did that. And he himself, who graduated from a PWI, I believe he went to a PWI and graduated from a PWI, got immediately bombarded by a lot of Southernites because, you know, neck real special to Southernites.
That originated on the bluff.
Right. On the yard. On the yard. Right. Over the hump. The hump. Right. If anybody see, there's certain things HBCU folks can talk about. See, like I can tell folk about the tree of knowledge. Yeah. See, if you see, only Gramblingites know that. See, people know about the hump and the blue house at Southern. Correct. See, there's certain things you know because you know, and even Alcorn has that one little gas station with the one gas, whatever they call. Hey, everybody know they thing.
Right.
D.I. Love know they thing.
Yes.
But you know, the first thing that was like, man, why are they attacking me? And you know, I felt bad because he's a real good friend of mine. And then my better half got and made a comment and said, well, the first time I ever heard the thing, I was at LSU. Well,
right.
My better half didn't go to a HBCU. Mm-hmm. My better half went to a PWI. So I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I understand. Folk who went to HBCUs, They take that real serious.
But here's the interesting thing, because I had some LSU people come to me and say, yeah, we heard Southern trying to play neck. I said, well, let me ask you something. Did you ever speak to anybody in your band at LSU and ask them who taught them how to play that song?
Right. Hold on.
They said no. And when they did,
you didn't invent that. You didn't invent that. Now, once again,
the band director from Southern went to LSU.
Come on.
And taught LSU how to play neck.
Come on.
So you believe, because there's this viral video of LSU band down the middle of Bourbon Street playing Neck by Cameo. And the song is actually called Talking Out the Side of Your Neck by Cameo.
Come on.
So, and I was like, but y'all didn't come up with that. Y'all learned that from the first school to play that with Southern.
Come on. And see, and what folks, and this is comprehension and understanding.
Correct.
Many a times we as a people, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with a PWI. Nope. I have degrees hanging on my wall from a PWI. I have two of them. Hold up. 1, 2, 2. Yeah, 2 of them.
You got to think about it.
I had to make sure. No, actually 3 of them. I have 3 of them from PWI. Listen, y'all. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. We as a people of color and we as a culture, you have to understand, and I'm going to say this because I can say it. It's our podcast. It's a platform. Me and this brother do it. You know, everybody want to be the N-word, but don't nobody want to be the N-word. That's what a brother once said one time, and I understand what he meant by that. Everybody wants the perks, the privileges, and the prosperity of our culture, but don't nobody want the problems, nor do they want to go through the process. See, everybody want to walk around and look like us, talk like us, be fly like us, have our swag. Yep. But they don't want to pay the price.
Wait, what's the cliche? The cliche say everybody want our rhythm, but they don't want our blues.
Right. You know,
everybody want our rhythm, but they don't want our blues.
Right. So, and that's going to be a conversation for another time, because that brings about a lot of mental despair amongst us as a people. See, everybody want to see. We here's the craziest thing, and here's another sad thing. And like I said, we're gonna go over tonight, and I don't care. You know, the sad thing that really hurts me is that when I constantly see us hurting us, you know, that, and I've got to speak on that in many levels, on many different facets. You know, for example, I tell everybody, I encourage, I'm going to say this again, and I hope some folks are looking who cannot stand me, because I want you to understand where my heart is at. I want you to go get your own video podcast if you feel like this is what you call to do. And I don't care if you're good at it, bad at it, better than me, or worse than me. Go do what you feel like you are called to do. Because the last time I checked, Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's will be all right beside each other, and I don't see nobody throwing slang. Nope. I don't see nobody putting on their board. Your fry machine broke. Come over here and eat our fries, because our fry machine ain't broke. Your ice cream machine is broke. Come over here and eat our ice cream, because our ice cream. No, they do what they do and let you do what you do, because the folk will choose what they prefer at that time. Maybe one day they want McDonald's. Maybe one day they want Burger King. Maybe the next day they want Wendy's. Nevertheless, the options is out there. Our problem is, when we find folk that do the same thing we do, first thing we try to do is down them. Oh, they can't do it. Are they copycat? I don't care if you copycatted me or not. I don't care if you do it better than me or worse than me. If you feel like that's what you call to do, baby, go get you a website. Check. I'm happy for you. And baby, go get you a video podcast. Check. I'm happy for you. To be exact, I will invite you to come on my video podcast to promote your video podcast. Because I don't have no smoke with nobody, because I'm truly the type brother that I want to see everybody win. But one of our big mental health problems is we feel like the moment we start doing it, we the only people that can do it. And we don't want nobody else to do it. And we feel like everybody should roll with us and you shouldn't roll with them. Baby, let me tell you something. I tell folks, just because you a DJ, I know about 20 DJs. Guess what? I'll go see all y'all play in one night if I have to. But that doesn't mean I'm just going to go see one of y'all and sit there and not go see the others. We got to stop doing that to ourselves mentally.
And crabs in the barrel.
Mentally, we beating ourselves up. mentally. Listen, I don't care if you copy me. I see people, listen, I'm good friends with Country Wayne. I see Country Wayne. We inbox each other. Hi, Kiki. I saw him at Essence about some stuff. Listen, I don't tell everybody that, but I see people around me who try to imitate him, emulate him. Guess what? He don't care. At the end of the day, listen, there's room out there for all of us. Guess what? Denzel Washington ain't the only actor. There's a lot of male actors. Now, everybody can't be Denzel, but Denzel ain't trying to be everybody, and he ain't trying to stop everybody. He's trying to open up the door for everybody. That's what I start wanting to ask folks. If you're doing all this stuff and you keep on saying you doing it for whatever reason, how many folks are you doing it for to open doors for folks that you don't know? Don't do it. You know, some of y'all too busy trying to be popular. And that's fine. You know, you trying to be popular. That's fine. Be popular. But at the same time, while you being that P, why don't you do this? Use this P. Pave the way for some other folks to make their way in the door that don't have to go through as many hardships as you had to go through to get to where you need to get to. I don't open up many doors for many.
I was popular. I was popular before social media.
Come on. And that's what a lot of listen. And back on the HBCU tip, that's what a lot of us really get mad when we see a LSU doing NEC. We say, wait a minute, man. We were doing NEC before, but hold it. We were doing it when we didn't have the ESPN contract, the ABC contract, when nobody else was watching. We had rhythm on our campus when it wasn't. When y'all were walking in formation, we were you know. Okay, so all of a sudden, don't make it seem like all of a sudden you got rhythm because you went and came and got our rhythm. It's almost like the movie about the cheerleaders. Don't come and steal all our cheers,
right? And
then try to act like we ain't nothing,
right? Exactly. You a knockoff of us. You a knockoff. Right.
Thank you,
thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
We are at the point where we have to stop being our own worst enemy.
Yes, sir.
We have to stop being those people where we all got to swim, but you want to put rocks in my pocket. Why?
Come on.
I don't need rocks in my pocket.
Come on.
You know, we are at the point now where we have to let individuals be great alongside of us.
Come on.
You remember we talked about the difference between a cubic zirconia and a diamond?
Come on.
If you take a diamond, let's say this, and then we're going to go home with this one. We take a $10,000 diamond and we put it at the top of a ring. And we surround that $10,000 diamond with cubic zirconias. Does that decrease the value of that diamond?
Come on.
No, it's still a $10,000 diamond.
Yes, sir.
So if you are a diamond is not going to be threatened by other diamonds. If you're an eagle and you flying, an eagle is not going to be threatened by other eagles.
Come on.
Because it's too busy doing eagle stuff.
Right.
We have to stop looking. And I heard this one time when I was about 28 years old, and I never forgot this. An old man told me this. I was 28. He had to be almost 80. He said, black people too busy fighting over nickels and dimes on the ground, when if they just stand up, it's $1 million over their head.
Right. Come on.
And I didn't understand that. He said, because we can't stand to see another person get a nickel.
Come on.
But if I help you stand up and you help me stand up, we can pick off $1 million.
Right.
That's why we don't understand. That's why we can't comprehend. Because we have too much garbage in front of us.
Right.
Next week, God say the same. We're going to talk about how do we get rid of this racial garbage.
Right.
That keeps us tied down.
Come on.
We don't need it.
Come on.
We just broke the glass ceiling by having the highest, position in the land filled by somebody that looked like me and you.
Come on.
And you think he didn't have, adversity? Of course.
Come on.
So, as I close, I'm going to say this. Get your comprehension and your understanding at its top peak. And understand this. You're not going to always understand another person's journey. You don't need to understand their journey. Just comprehend that they have a journey.
Come on, that part.
All right. We all have a journey. You don't have to understand their journey. Just comprehend that they have one.
Come on. That's what I'm talking about.
If ain't nobody else tell you today what we say, Brother Dupree, we love you.
That's it.
Until next week, we out.